Good morning, students. I hope you are staying healthy. You are staying inside home during this lockdown period. Now, I hope you have already completed the entomology part, and the entomology, the different insects, the different the Brachycera, the Nematocera, and the Cyclorophyll insects have been completed. The Myiasis, the bots, the warbles, fleas, as well as lice has been completed. Now today we begin with the acarines, and before going into the acarines, we told you that the topic is veterinary entomology and acarology, because entomology deals with insects and the acarology, it deals with acarines. So we will see what are acarines, what are the different arthropods which are of veterinary or medical importance in acarines, and how these acarines differ from insects. So why we are separately studying the acarines, okay, and what is the importance of these acarines. Now, so coming to the previous lessons, so already the previous lessons that I have completed, there is the morphological characters, the body parts, structure, mouth parts, digestive system, the respiratory system, reproductive system, the metamorphosis and the definitions associated with metamorphosis, partial, hemimetabolous, ametabolous, or complete metamorphosis. So all these things we have completed. The different types of larvae, different types of pupa, the nymphal stages, and all their definitions have been completed in the theory part. Now, the mouth, apart from that, we also completed the class Insecta, okay, the Nematocera, Brachycera, Cyclorophylla, sorry, there is a spelling mistake, CYCLO. Now, in this we have completed the Nematoceran flies, the Ceratopogonidae, Samuridae, Psychodidae, Culicidae, the mosquitoes, the biting midges, the phlebotomine flies, that is sand flies, as well as the black flies. Now I have already sent you a quiz, but yet I have not got any response from the quiz. Actually, this quiz is for your own benefit. It gives you a quick revision of whatever has been taught. You requested that you are not able to understand from the PPTs or the PDFs, so I took efforts to make the videos. I wanted your feedbacks. Only 2 or 3 students have given their feedbacks, others have not, and you are not responding the quiz. This is a very what I will say, a lack from your part. At least you should come up with the quiz, you should come up with the answers, or you should give some communication to your instructor, to your teacher, that you have received the quiz and you will be doing it, or some problem that you are facing. You are free to discuss all these things, but I don't find any kind of communication from your side. Okay, I hope that you are studying everything. I will put my best efforts. So revise all the materials and attempt the quiz. So today we will be discussing about the acarines or the acarina. So if you remember, the phylum Arthropoda, it has got many classes. So the class Insecta is one of them, and there is another class called the class Arachnida. Now under the class Arachnida, there are several orders. So one of the order is the Acarina. So this Acarina order, which comes under the class Arachnida, it consists mostly of the mites and the ticks. So what are ticks and mites? How do grossly differentiate between them? They have some characters which are similar, that is why they have been placed under the order Acarina. So ticks, so basically what you can see, the ticks, they are macroscopic in nature. They can be seen on the naked eye. Both of them are ectoparasites. They are found on the surface, body surfaces, on the skin. They infest the skin. Like ticks, they are macroscopic. You can see them on the surface of the skin. Whereas mites, they are microscopic. They enter into the surface, they may be on the surface of the skin, on the epidermal layers, but you cannot see them with the naked eye because they are microscopic in nature, microscopic structures. Whereas some mites, they can burrow and enter into the sebaceous glands, or they can tunnel through the dermal layers, epidermal layers, and enter into the dermis. Okay, so that is why for mites they are not. We cannot see the mites, and with the naked eye they can only be seen under the microscope. Now, what is the difference between these ticks and mites? Now, ticks and mites. Now, generally, if we say the first important difference is in the body, we can easily determine whether it is a acarine or an insect just by seeing the body. So how do we differentiate? Now, if you remember, the insects, they have got a segmentation. The body is divided into parts. So the anterior, the head consists of a single segment. Then there are 3 thoracic segments, and there are 9 or 10 abdominal segments. But in case of acarines, the body is not divided into this kind of a segmentation. There is no head, thorax and abdomen. So what are the parts? The parts include the anterior part, which causes the appendages. So you understand appendages? Okay, the jointed appendages. So the anterior part of the acarines, which bears the appendages, this is called the prosoma. So as you can see, prosoma. So prosoma. Soma is the body. Pro means the upper or the anterior part. Then the posterior part of the body, which has no appendages, it is called the opisthozoa. Opisthozoa. Now, if we come to the figure, you can see. So this is an acarine. Now you can see the appendages. These are the mouth parts. The mouth parts also consist of appendages. Okay. There are 2 appendages, 2 pairs of appendages, the chelicerae and the pedipalps. So these appendages are meant for feeding. So these are also appendages, and then there are walking appendages. The appendages which are meant for walking, or rather we can say walking legs. So this part which bears the appendages, I can see this black from the appendages, the part which bears the appendages, this is called the prosoma. And the part which is devoid of the appendages, so this part which is devoid of the appendages, it is called the opisthozoa. Now, what is this after the? Now, if you can see this prosoma, with the part bearing the appendages, consists of 2 regions. One area which bears the mouth parts, that including the feeding appendages, that is the chelicerae, the palps, and the hypostome. So these 3 structures form the mouth parts: chelicerae, the pedipalps, the chelicerae, the pedipalps, and the median hypostome. Hypostome is in the middle, so they form the feeding appendages. Okay, these feeding appendages are set on a head-like structure or a plate-like structure. Okay, this is a plate-like structure. This is called the capitulum. So this feeding appendages, along with the hypostome and the capitulum, they form what is known as the gnathosoma. Gnathos means mouth, soma means body. So the part of the body which forms the mouth parts is called the gnathosoma, comprising of the chelicerae, pedipalps, hypostome and capitulum. Now the part of the prosoma which bears these walking appendages is called the podosoma. As you can see marked in red here, podosoma, gnathosoma and then podosoma. So podosoma bears all the 4 walking appendages. Okay, so prosoma is divided into 2 parts, gnathosoma and podosoma. Now in some books you will find that this sometimes this gnathosoma and the this podosoma and the opisthozoa. So generally what we do, we tell the head and the rest of the body. So just like that, similar to that, some books you will find the podosoma and the opisthozoa, they are combinedly called as the idiosoma. You see here, idiosoma. See, from the walking legs till the part which is free of appendages, this is called the idiosoma. So podosoma and the opisthozoa are combinedly called the idiosoma, whereas the anterior part is gnathosoma. So in some books you will find the classification of the body as idiosoma and gnathosoma. So either prosoma, opisthozoa. Prosoma is divided into 2 parts, gnathosoma and podosoma, or sometimes you will find the classification of the body as the gnathosoma and the idiosoma. Okay, clear. Now fine, now let's move to what are the other important differences between the arachnids and the acarines and the insects. So apart from the body structure or the body part, you have the antenna. So antenna is one of the most important criteria of differentiation between the insects and the arachnids or the acarines. All insects, irrespective whether it is wings or it has no wings, it is undergoing complete, incomplete or no metamorphosis, they will have a pair of antennae. They will possess a pair of antennae. But the acarines, they don't have antennae. Second, wings. Now wings is actually not a definite structure, because some of the insects, they don't have wings. They are secondarily wingless, like the fleas, the lice or the bugs. They don't have wings. Bugs have wings, but they are reduced. But fleas and lice, they don't have wings. Okay. So but most of the insects have wings. So that is one differentiating feature. Now walking legs. All acarines, they are nymphal and the adult stages. They are nymphal and the adult stages. They have got 4 pairs of walking legs or 4 pairs of appendages. The larval stages have got 3 pairs of walking legs. So the larval stages have 3 pairs of walking legs, but the nymphs and the adults, they have 4 pairs of walking legs. Now the mouth parts. So we have already studied about the mouth parts of insects in details, some amount of details, and we have seen the classification. But in case of acarines, the mouth parts, bearing few exceptions, they are all the same. So the mouth parts, they are generally consist of a median sucking apparatus. This sucking apparatus, which helps in sucking the body fluids. So they generally feed on body fluids, whether it is lymph or whether it is blood, okay, or the secretions from the skin. Now the sucking apparatus is from the hypostome, and on lateral side of the hypostome there are 2 pairs of appendages which are modified for feeding. So these appendages are the chelicerae. The first pair of appendages are the chelicerae, and the second pair of appendages are the palps or the pedipalps. So here you can see. Now this, why I am giving you these diagrams. These diagrams will be helpful for your practical aspects also. So they are all labeled, and you have to label them accordingly. So you see on the left hand side, this is the mouth parts, or this you can see there is a complete picture of the gnathosoma. Mouth parts with from the dorsal aspect, and this is the mouth part from the ventral aspect. So you see, so this is a typical mouth part of a tick. So this structure, as you can see, this is a plate like structure which bears the appendages or the mouth part. So this is called the capitulum, or sometimes known as base of the capitulum or basis capitulum. So base of the capitulum is here. This is the base of the capitulum. Now here, this is the first pair of feeding appendages. This first pair of feeding appendages, this is second pair of feeding appendages. On the side, they are mainly sensory in nature. Okay, these 2 structures, they don't penetrate the skin while feeding. These structures, they usually don't penetrate the skin while feeding. This is the palps or the pedipalps. Now here you can see the sharp edge serrated margins. They are like the blades. These are the chelicerae. These are the appendages which are responsible for cutting and entering into the skin. So this is the appendages, and this central part is called the hypostome. Now you see this on the ventral side. So palps, second pair of appendages, chelicerae, the first pair of appendages, and the median hypostome. Now you can see on the median hypostome there are recurved teeth like structure. Recurved teeth. What do you mean by recurved teeth? So if you have seen a fish hook, मछली पकड़ने का जो हुक होता है, उसके हुक पे एक छोटा सा बार या पॉइंटेड स्ट्रक्चर रहता है रिकर्व्ड, ताकि मछली फंसने के बाद उससे निकल नहीं पाए. So similarly, when this hypostome along with the chelicerae, they are inserted into the mouth, you cannot pull out the tick easily. Why you cannot pull out the tick? Or the tick does not dislodge very easily. Why? This is because of the recurved teeth. It remains in that position for a long time. Okay. Now moving to the other part, other differences. Now respiratory system. So now case of respiratory system of insects, Now, respiratory system of insects we have already discussed. In insects, you have got the spiracles, and then there that is the openings. There are openings on the lateral side of each thoracic segment and from the spiracles they pass the tracheoles and the trachea. Okay. Now here, in case of arachnids, apart from the spiracles, they have got gill books or lung books. Okay, lung books and trachea in case of air breathing species, and some mites they can breathe even through the cuticle. So aquatic species have got gill books, air breathing species have trachea and spiracles or lung books, and sometimes the mites they breathe simply through the surface, through the cuticle. The excretory system, in case of excretory system of the insects we studied, the excretory system consists of the Malpighian tubules. The Malpighian tubules are located at the junction of the proctodium and the mesenteron, that is the midgut and the hindgut. Now in case of the arachnids, it may be nephridia or Malpighian tubules. Okay, they are the basic excretory organs. Apart from that, sometimes in some ticks they have got coxal glands. What are coxal glands? These are glands which are present on the present lateral to the coxa, and these forms an additional excretory apparatus. And these coxal glands are mainly responsible for secretion of pheromones. Okay, they are mainly responsible for secretion of pheromones. Okay, now if you see, the acarines have got 6 suborders. Among the 6 suborders, we will be studying whatever we will be studying their importance. The parasites or the acarines which are of veterinary importance, they will be coming under 4 suborders. 2 suborders are not of any economic importance in veterinary or medical. Now, out of these 6 suborders, there are 4 suborders: Mesostigmata, Ixodoidea, Trombidiformes, and Sarcoptiformes. So, let us see one by one. Mesostigmata. As the name suggests, stigmata. The name stigmata arises from the stigmal plates. Okay? Stigmal plates, mesostigmata. Now, they have got thick stigmal plates. Now, this includes the gamacid mites. Examples of the red mite of poultry, the tropical fowl mite. Okay, then comes Ixodoidea, the suborder Ixodoidea. The suborder Ixodoidea consists of ticks, the hard ticks as well as the soft ticks. So that is why ticks are also known as the ixodid ticks. Ixodid ticks. Now we will see. I'll be covering the soft ticks and the hard ticks in the next lecture, and I will be covering the soft ticks first. Okay, I will be going with the practical and the theory simultaneously of the soft ticks. Hard ticks I will cover in 2 parts. Okay, now coming to Trombidiformes. In Trombidiformes, Trombidiforms are mostly non-parasitic. They are parasitic, non-parasitic on animals. Mostly they are parasitic on the plants, that is on the fruits. You must have heard about fruit mites. They damage the fruits. Okay, fruit mites or tuber mites, which affect the fruits and the bulbs. Okay, now apart from that, there are some parasitic mites which parasitize the animals. Now in this Trombidiformes, there is a family Demodicidae. You can see Demodex here. So we will be discussing about that in details. Where all the stages, they are permanent parasites. So the larvae, the nymph, and the adults, they are all found on the same host. They are all parasitic. The larvae, the nymph, as well as the adults, they are parasitic. Remember, in acarines we don't have any pupa. It is larva. I will come to the life cycle later on. Larva, nymph, and adult, imago. Now, of course, there are some Trombidiforms where only the larval stage is parasitic. The nymphal and the adult stages are free living. We will come to that also. Sarcoptiforms. These Sarcoptiforms include the mites. The mites include both burrowing mites. I told you some of them burrow and into the skin, deep into the sebaceous glands, or deep into the dermal layers. They are called the burrowing mites. Some mites, if Sarcoptiformes, they remain on the epidermal layer. They are called the Coreoptes. Okay, actually the example, they are also called the Coreoptic mites. So non-burrowing mites are also known as the coreoptic mites because the type genus is Coreoptis, and the burrowing mites are also known as the sarcoptic mites because the type genus is Sarcoptes. Okay. Now coming to the life cycle. Now you see the life cycle I told you, the adult or the imago, it lays eggs. The eggs hatch, give rise to larva. The larva has got 3 legs. Then the larva will transform, metamorphose or dice into nymphal stages. There are usually 3 nymphal stages. The protonymph, there is the first nymphal stage, the deuteronymph, the second nymphal stage, and the tritonymph. Now the feeding habits, the biology, how they feed or how they parasitize the host, it varies from species to species. So it is or suborder to suborder. It is different in mesostigmata, it is different in soft ticks, it is different in hard ticks, it is different in mites, that is sarcoptiforms. Okay, so we will discuss about that when the individual suborders and individual genera will be discussed. Now coming to mesostigmata. So mesostigmata, here as you can see, the main important structure is the body armor. The entire body is covered with a dark armored plate, dark thick cuticular armored plate, in different parts. So the second structure, the most important structure, from where it derives the name mesostigmata. One pair of stigmata are lateral and outside the cocci. So one pair of stigmata are there, which are, what is stigmata? Stigmata is actually opening of the spiracle which is placed on a thick cuticular structure. So the stigmata or the stigma plates are lateral to the cocci. The stigmata are borne on the peritrimal plates. As I told you, these are the thick cuticular structures called the peritrimal plates. So stigmata are borne on thick peritrimal plates lateral to the cocci, outside the cocci. Okay. Now coming to Ixodoidea, as I told you, Ixodid ticks, they consist of 2 families, Argacidae and Ixodidae. Now Argacidae, they consist of the soft ticks, and Ixodidae consist of the hard ticks. So tomorrow I will be taking the topic, so soft ticks, that is Argacidae. Now trombidiforms, I told you, mites, most of them are parasitic on fruits and bulbs, but those which are parasitic on animals and human beings, they are again classified as four type of families. Demodicidae, that is Demodex species, they are parasitic. So all stages are parasitic. The larva, nymph and the adult stages are parasitic on animals. Trombiculidae, so here only the larval stages are parasitic on plants and animals. Okay. We are not, you can remember the names, but these are not of much importance. We will not be discussing the Pediculidae and Cheletidae in our for our syllabus. Okay, the next is sarcoptes.